You only care when you know that you can reap the benefits of that person's demise. It's not even about the person's murder, because they know that you can't profit off of black on black murders. So you don't really care about black lives. It's all about profiting. Laquan McDonald's mother is a clear testament of what I'm saying. You know, if a GD fought a Vice Lord or a BD, and it was just another murder and that went on in Chicago, y'all wouldn't give two fucks. I mean, look at the baby that died in the midst of Chief Keef's label mate Capo's death. I ain't see Black Lives Matter. When Tayshawn Lee got shot up execution style on some assassin shit, I ain't see Black Lives Matter.
Yo, what's happening, world? My name's Raheem Flowers. And I'm just feeling like that meme where you see Arthur just cleaning up his fist when he hears some BS. Because I'm hearing too much BS by the media. Whoops. I mean by these death merchants. Has it ever occurred to anybody that has just become a reoccurring theme, a running gag, a paradigm, a pattern, if you will, of seeing so many so-called black people just dying and having these white liberals do what they do best, shout out to Antifa, which is be on the side with black people and come when there's drama involved, when there's death involved, when somebody's son is on a t-shirt that I'm sure they make plenty of bucks on. Not saying everybody who puts up a mural or graffiti or just paying homage to the one that died in their family is just doing this purely for profit. But if we look at the track record, we look at Eric Gardner's family, who was quick to take those millions of dollars. If we look at Laquan McDonald's mother, she took what? Millions of dollars, about $5 million. But what she didn't do was try to privatize and investigate your children's death. No. That money is what mattered most. And that attention and those virtue signals from those white liberals is what mattered most. Getting those self-righteous points up. That's what it is. That's what it's become. And that's what it's amounted to. Crazy. I've seen so much of that go on for a decade plus. And what they don't show you are things like this. Boys in Inglewood, down in the south side of Chicago, who the media loves to romanticize on when it comes to my city, about the deaths that go on. You don't talk about those boys only, because it's a black boys only school that goes on in Inglewood that is very prosperous. The vast majority of those students succeed. There's a high success rate of graduations, of them achieving their goals. But I guess it's more important to talk about the George Floyd trial, right? It's more important to talk about Corn Gaines, a woman who was supposed to lead by example for her son running her mouth to the cops. Or Sandra Bland, another black woman who was running her mouth. Even Breonna Taylor, what happened with her? She was messing with one of them drug dealers. Or as a good friend of mine says, a dope peddler. See, they'll have all these collages. They'll have BET awards performing for these individuals, but then they never get the full scoop. I like to wait. That's why I don't make videos as soon as an event comes out. When I talked about the George Floyd trial, I didn't make a video. I didn't comment on these things immediately because I know this is nothing but it's nothing but ratings. It's nothing but sales. This is why I call it death merchants. The media, white liberals more specifically and especially. Hell, even if you think about a lot of these white conservatives, because you'll hear about, I even remember back in 2015 when Tayshaun Lee died. Funny because a young man would have been 15 now, but he died in 2015 when he was 9 years old. And they talked about how we need to focus on Tayshaun Lee and his killers. And I agree. Just like that little 7-year-old girl who died on the west side of Chicago, all the way out west, which presumably her father had connections with a gang known as the Vice Lords. Yeah. So it's just another parallel. It's a situation that's parallel to Tayshaun Lee 6 years ago. But as far as what I'm saying about white conservatives or the alt-right, there's just too much hypocrisy. You talk about free speech, but guess what? You don't do. You only do that for your own personal convenience. You won't even talk about the people who perpetuate the thing that you hate most, or you claim to hate most, political correctness, or cultural Marxism. See, when it's time to talk about them small hats, that's when y'all conservatives get quiet as fuck. You so damn concerned about whether Joe Biden wins or not. I bet you none of y'all say nothing about the Federal Reserves. And even though John F. Kennedy didn't give an F about black people, or so-called black people, ask Samuel Davis Jr. Well, if you could ask him. Look, and speaking of John F. Kennedy, at least the man is, as much as John F. Kennedy was actually a prick, he actually tried to do something that would have led people moving forward, which revolved around what? Getting those golds and silvers. But the Federal Reserve wasn't having that. Those people that you fear talking about wasn't having that. When we talk about the topic of Israel, most of y'all get quiet. Maybe because Bill O'Reilly got fired from Fox. Maybe because Rush Limbaugh's dead. Y'all don't have any balls. You have no temerity. You just been acting so cowardly, so timorous. Like you can't do nothing. It's just an echo chamber. That's what a lot of you so-called white conservatives have amounted to. An echo chamber. You just want to sound like you're trying to do something, and you want to sound like you're going to do something revolutionary, something groundbreaking, something assertive, something that's really going to get the world riled up, and it's going to be like on some the movers and the shakers. But in reality, you're doing the same thing that these white liberals that you claim to despise and oppose do. Just speak from a place of one-upping each other when it comes to a virtue signal. Twin-headed snakes. But, yeah. It's just, when I think about the media more importantly, and I even think about black people doing it, Black Lives Matter is is like the epitome of death merchants. You look at this black woman who lives, who bought a crib, who bought a house, cost millions of dollars. But guess what? Ain't around you Negroes. Black Lives Matter though, right? You live in your resident is with a bunch of white people, but black lives don't matter enough to reside around other black people. Why can't you get a place in Atlanta? After all, isn't that what they call Black Hollywood? But no. She wanted to be immersed around the pale-skinned individuals. Yes, not you so-called Negroes. Not at all.
Living with the whites, one big house, and not another nigga in sight.
Nobody's a bigger death merchant than Black Lives Matter. Nobody. That's why they only show up when George Floyd. They only showed up for Michael Brown. They only showed up for Sandra Bland. They didn't even show up for Tayshaun Lee. And I know they didn't show up for that little girl in Chicago out west. But they show up for the things that get sensationalized by these white liberals. The things that get sensationalized by the likes of CNN and ABC. Probably sipping some wine with Gayle King. See? That's what you have to notice. You have to recognize the behavioral patterns. Don't accuse me of being cynical. Don't accuse me of just looking at things pessimistically and only looking at things one side. No. If I was looking at things one-sided, I wouldn't have been able to say what I just said about the blatant hypocrisy of a lot of these conservatives. They act like cowards and they don't stand by anything, just like these white liberals do. Because I bet you, these white liberals, let me tell you about them. They'll say things like Black Lives Matter. They'll join Antifa. They'll talk about black people in the most patronizing way, but guess what they don't do? They don't live in black neighborhoods. And even when they do start to live in those neighborhoods that were formerly black, that's because gentrification is going down. Oh yeah, didn't think I knew, right? But I do. Everybody's in on the same thing. You have black people being death merchants, following up with Black Lives Matter. You have a lot of these white conservatives who will call out the debauchery that goes down with these white liberals and with these so-called Negroes, but that's just a way to one up and get virtue signals. These are the same people who will talk about we need to minimize the government, we need to stop having immigrants taking money from taxpayers. But you won't say a motherfucking word about Israel getting millions of dollars out of America annually. You won't say nothing. You won't say nothing about cultural Marxism. You'll talk about political correctness, but you won't confront the elephant in the room that perpetuates political correctness, i.e. cultural Marxism. Karl Marx, small hat. You won't talk about those things though. Picking and choosing your battles. See what I'm saying? It's just too much double talking on everybody's end. And it's painfully obvious. But those who really are truth seekers, those who strive to be or are objective thinkers, they know what time it is. It's time to nail the coffin for these death merchants. Peace out. I'm out.